Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Harrison, and adjunct professor at T. This workshop is the third of, I'm not sure how many is going to be in the series. We'll have to work on that and refine these, but basically we're going to take these base maps, the information, layered information that we put together in ArcMap, and we're going to export these base maps in layers, and we're going to manipulate them in Photoshop to make them look better. It's just easier, and Photoshop's made for that, and ArcMap isn't. So, what you see here is this Davidson County project, and we've downloaded some data sets for project site, which is right around there. And I've done a couple of things that I guess I should show you too. I downloaded these parts of when you download information sets into GIS, there's tons of information within these things. It's information upon information. It's like a information tree. This being the parent, now these subgroups below it. So I'm going to double click on zoning. Okay. Well, let me show you something else. Before I do that, I'm going to right click on zoning, and I'm going to go open attribute table. And I'm going to do this because it tells me how the information is broken down and sorted. So the information that I want to eventually display on this that you see now is that zone code. Okay, so keep that in mind. Without going into a huge lecture about what an attribute is, because I'm still not super clear. So just know that for this, I'm looking at it like it's a set of information is what it is. It's not that difficult, I guess. But anyway, we want to use zoning code, so I just wanted to make sure how that looked and how that was represented. Okay. So now I'm going to double click on zoning, and I'm going to go to Symbology. And you'll see here under the value field, you're able to select which value field. These correlate with the parent information titles in the attributes table. And we know that we wanted to use a zone code. Okay. Then you're able to select a ramp of just different colors, anything you want to. There's variations, gradations, just whatever you want. Let's go that. Then I'll say add values. Click there, and you'll see each color is allocated with a heading: HC, OI, Office Institution, and I'm not sure what HC is. RA3 and RM1. I guess it forms residential. And it's another thing. I don't know. There might be a way to query or in the metadata file that gives a more specific meaning. What is HC? I just know from experience what some of these are, or have an idea at least about what they are. But you can call the city, or I'm sure there's one. Once you have these, you can at least begin to ask intelligent questions to find out what they actually are, because you need to know that. But anyway, so I have that. I'm going to click apply. Right, and you see when I click apply, I have that layer up, and then the colors are changing. Okay. Now under labels, I want to make sure label features in this layer that's on, and it allows you to select again a field, which was zone code for us, and to specify a text and all that stuff in 40, and that's what works, and that's what we've done here. And you see that it creates a map for us, and it breaks it down into color, and it's showing what the zoning types are. I also have the buildings layer on, and I'll tell you, you'll see that it becomes more evident why I've done that later on. I need it for reference. So for this, then I'm going to export, and I basically the same process I've taken you through I've done for all these. So I've turned, and let me export this first. I'm exporting map. So it's file export, and this is specify location. You always keep. You need to organize files. You have to learn. If you're not doing it already, you need to start. It's going to make life easier, and whatever you end up doing, especially when you're dealing with data, the organization is key. So you can find things and it makes sense, so that people can come behind you and work behind you. So I've already specified this this file, and you see I've downloaded a lot of these, and these are my 20 scales. And this is zoning. I've done one, but I omitted the buildings for reference, and I need that. So I'm going to click save, and it also allows you to select the resolution. I'm doing mine to about $1.50. Yeah, I want to replace it. That's fine. Okay. Now here's the fun part. And I haven't really done any of this yet, so you'll do it with me. So you'll see that I have a lot of these layers already open. Just open the PDF up. And I also was able to acquire ortho, so that's the ortho imagery. and I isolated everything and just did it in layers, as you would have in Photoshop, and layers are very important. And I also did another one I didn't show you guys. I exported or plotted from AutoCAD the base map that I created in the previous tutorial. Let me just add a layer so you all can see what I'm talking about. Let me go ahead and make that white. Okay, and as I zoom in, you can see that it's our base map file. Right. There you go. Okay, and I'm using that on these lines, that way I can use that outline to line the rest of these drawings up. Eventually we'll combine them. So I'll come back over here. Let me just go open. Let me open that last zoning back up. Okay. Okay. It'll open it up. And what I'm going to do is all the maps that I exported from ArcMap, I'm going to combine, because that outline should be the same for each one, so that it should be very easy to line them up. Even though it's still 20 scale, it's not the exact image or location. I'm not sure what I pulled in when I did the layout in AutoCAD, but it's close enough. But these are dead on, so it makes my job easier of layering. So I'm going to go ahead and delete him. And as I go, I'm going to delete it because I don't need him anymore. That's the base. So I'll pull this guy over here. Drop him in. Move him over. And it's kind of snapping for me. I mean, you'll play with the CAD, Photoshop, you kind of get a feel for it. I'll zoom in and make sure, but it's kind of snapping for me. At least in my version of Photoshop. I'm running CS4, I think. I'm going to close it out. I don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to go in here. Now I know I wanted this drawing to be 24 by 36, right? And I've combined all these layers here. So I'm going to go image. And I'm going to go canvas size, not image size, canvas size, and I'm just going to be 36 by 24. It's going to give me a little bit of space so I can begin to see too. Now I'm going to create another layer here, and this is my layers management. This is my layers, I guess, category. And now I've had some other earlier tutorials on Photoshop to get you better acquainted with it. The best advice for you is just to play with it. There's great tutorials online on basic things, but really just to get on it is the best way. Just jump on it with a goal. Okay. So I put the white behind it. Now you can begin to see the black pops out. And what I want to do is just zoom in to make sure that all these are kind of connected together. Okay. And let me turn one off at a time to make sure these two of them are being compared at a time. So you see that? Turn all those off. I turn that on. Turn that on. And everything is lining up. So there's no big variations, at least. That one's a little bit. I'll shake that a little bit. So I'm using my move tool. Just hit V for move. Oops. That's the wrong way. There. So I shifted it just to. And this is, these things. It's important how these things line up. So take the extra time to do that. And I'm going to turn this guy on. I'm going to pull him behind so I can see. There you go. That's dead on, pretty much. Yeah, it's dead on. Okay. So now that I know they're all combined properly, alright, I'm going to zoom back out. And I'm zooming out by using Control minus, holding Control and hitting the minus key. And just zooming out. And now I want to pull this CAD file, the last file, into these. Okay. Actually, let me Control Z. Let me do something quickly first. Yeah, retard. Alright, yeah, I grabbed the wrong layer. You want to grab your lines, not the color. So I have my move tool on. Now I can't line this up because they're different, but what I can do is use the buildings as a reference because they should be the same scale, right? Let's hope so. Let's hope the programs are working together. But if there isn't, there's not much variation. So it looks lined up to me from that first building. You all see what I'm doing? That building I had in that last layer, that's why I made it dark and I kept it like that. It was just to make sure that, or allow me to match that up. So you guys see if I move this thing, the move tool, see that there's my line, right, from my layers in CAD. And like I said, they're both 20 scales, so they should line up, and they pretty much do. So it's good to know that the programs are working well. Back it up a little bit, boom. So to me, that's done. I mean, that's about a done deal. So at least I have this data set that's all these layers, and I know that these things are working, right? That's an important thing. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to kill that CAD layer because I don't want to stress Photoshop out any more than I have to. I don't need to save it. I want to save this though. Save it immediately. Don't always constantly save your Photoshop work because you will lose it. And that's not a lesson you want to learn the hard way. Alright. Photoshop. Or PSD. Okay. And we're just going to call this inventory maps for now. Yeah, maps are fine. Diagrams, maps, what we're going to call them. Make sure it's saved as a PSD, which is a Photoshop file that maintains your layers. And this is where we begin to play. First thing I'm going to do is just crop everything, because there's extra data that I'm not using now in that CAD file that's kind of floating. So I'm just going to crop everything. 24 by 36. And I'm going to move. And I'm also going to name these layers so I know what they are now too. So this is going to be overall lines. Calling this guy zoning. And this is my aerial. This was actually land use, and I'll show you that one. It was kind of a silly land use. And this is just the white background. Okay. So, what's the easy one to work with? Let's just do. You guys can see your site, so that's cool. Let's do land use. Turn the overall lines off. So actually, I quickly selected colors in GIS, and actually I should have just reversed them. It's kind of funny I did that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my magic wand and just select that green area. Okay. And I'm going to select another color that might represent cleared, like that gray, or maybe something warmer. I don't know. And that's what's powerful about CAD, is Photoshop rather. There's a lot of options. It's just, you know, options are kind of limitless. And then I'm going to hit G for a paintbrush and just fill that in. And I left those titles on just to kind of remind me, but obviously it's not that difficult to remember. So I'm going to Control D to deselect, and I'm going to use my paintbrush. And I'm going to increase the diameter of the circle. And you can do that here as well. I'm using I don't know what those keys are called. Bracket keys, left and right. Right is larger, left is smaller. And I just painted that area in. And I'm going to use W for Magic Wand again and do the same thing with the blue. And this is supposed to be wooded, so I'm going to pick a color that's green. That kind of looks good to me with the other color. Hopefully it looks good to you all, but pick what you want. There goes green. I'm going to deselect, Control D. I'm going to hit B for brush again. And it maintains the last color of your foreground color. Okay, yeah, so that tan's the little, I'm not feeling the tan right now. Not a problem, I'll go back to it. I'm going to pick something else. I'm going to use a gray, how about that? G, just paint it. Bam, there you go. Now, it's some cool things you can do, and I probably should have just separated the layers to do that. Okay, let me do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the gray again. And I'm just going to hit Control C for copy and then Control V for paste. And it's basically duplicated that layer. See that? And I'll just go back to the gray here on the previous layer, and I'll just delete that. So then that would become the green. And I did that so that I can, for a couple of reasons, because there's a little bit of a gap there, so I want to just contract that a little bit. I'm just going to cheat and shift just a little. No, I can't cheat and shift, kind of move that back. I can contract though. I'm going to, because there's a little bit of slight gap between these that I don't want to show. Let me zoom in to show you guys if you can't see. And it's slight, but it's there. I see it, so call me perfectionist, but whatever. What it's going to be. So I'm going to use the select control, click on this thing, and then I'm going to go select, and I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to contract. And I'm going to contract it, I don't know, like 5 pixels. Okay, that way I know that one of them is underneath the other one. Oh, what am I doing? Not contract, expand. I wanted to reverse that. Modify, expand. So what I did 5, you do 10 now. Okay, yeah, went the wrong way. Okay, there you go. Let me do the same thing with that actually too. Select, modify, expand. Let's do 10. Yeah. Okay. Now what I want to do is just give it a little bit more depth and some quick tools to make these things look better. Here's a really easy one. You can double click on the layer and you can go inner glow. If you click on inner glow, you're able to click on all these different options for blending modes, and you'll learn these as you play with Photoshop. And I'm going to go to Darken. I'm going to click on this color here, and then I'm going to click on, you see my eyedrop tool comes up and a sample that green that I use, and I want to get it the darkest shade of it, almost black, not quite black. And then what I start doing is playing with the size of it. You see I'm beginning to darken that up on the edge. The edge begins to darken up as I do that. And you do the choke, and it comes out even more. You can soften it up. I don't want so much choke on it. But you see, it kind of gives it a nice hue, like you're going around with your marker again. There's other things you do, like add noise to it. I mean, there's tons of different. Well, I guess not tons. Slight exaggeration, but there's different things that you can do with it. You know, I don't want that noise on for this though. I like that, just that soft outline. Click OK. And I'm actually going to drag that. I'm going to hold Alt and drag and click on that FX and drag it to that other layer. And you'll see it darkened it up too. Now it's using the same green, so I'm going to double click and modify that green color. And I'm going to select that gray. And I'll just get darker. And you'll see it does. And I still see a gap. Okay. So let me extract, let me control click that again. Let me go select, modify, expand, let me make it 20. Okay. Is it silhouette? What is it doing? Okay. Anyway, it might be a white crust I left on. I'll have to take that color off. It's probably just the edging. But anyway, that's how you basically begin to build these things, and then from there you can tag it and label it. You can create a legend. I can trim this stuff down. If I just wanted to put text in, I can use the text tool. Click T for text. And it'll actually create a new layer with your text as well. Select over here, just drag it, and then it gives you the ability to select what font that you want and color here. So I'll make this black. And what was this? The designation was cleared and uncleared. So looks a little small, so let's make that bigger. Let's make it like 60, or let's make it 100. Okay, so like cleared down below the layer, but we'll see it in a second. It's a good point too. You don't see the text because right on the right hand side, the cleared is below that layer. So now I can see it and see how I was tripping with my typing. Cleared. Alright, and you can modify all this too. You can do anything you want. I'm just doing this quickly to show you how you begin to build maps. I just copied that. I just held the Alt key and used my move tool, and it allowed me to copy it. And I'm gonna type in wooded. Yeah, that begins to convey a pretty clear message, I think, with the maps. Things that you already have lines on. When I put these things back on too, you can kind of begin to see things. And there's cool effects you can do too. Like I have this arrow on top of it, right? You can bring that below these two land use pieces and do cool stuff like this, where you begin to fade. Let me just say let's just pretend that we like those colors a lot, even though I'm not really super crazy about it. But let's pretend that we do. I'm going to select both of them the way you would do multiple selections of files in any other program. Just hold the Control key and click if you're in Windows, or the Apple Command key and Mac. And then I'm going to hold the Alt key and drag down. And it's going to copy both of them. And then I'm going to do Control E to merge. So it's just one neat layer. Hopefully it'll cooperate. Yeah. And I'll turn these other ones off. And you see if I turn it off, it disappears as well. And now what I want to do is adjust the opacity so that you can begin to see the site below it. You know, and everything we do, that's why I love Photoshop, because everything's layers, and it's how we think anyway. You think of things in layers. But you can begin to see how that would be pretty cool, pretty useful. You know, I could have even picked a hotter color green, for instance. Let me just show you that. Delete that one actually. Turn back on that green. Say that instead of that color, I used a lime green or something like that. It was loud. And then I'm going to do a Shift F5 for fill. Select your foreground as you use. Foreground color is this top color. It's the background color. Bam. Oh. Now you see I did that, and I made a mistake because I was still on the aerial. So now I painted on the aerial, so I want to Control Z there because I don't want paint on my aerial. And I want to go back to land use. Make sure you're on the proper layer. Always make sure you're on the right layer. And then Shift F5. Foreground. Sure. There you go. Now I'm going to adjust that inner shadow again. Click there, let me drag down. Make it a little bit darker, a little bit lighter actually. That looks good to me. And I'm going to deselect, and then the gray looks fine. I think I can keep that gray like that. I like that green to be lighter. And I'm going to copy these things again. So I want it to be a neat layer. Control E. It'll join eventually. Turn those joints off. This is on. My aerial is in the background, and I'm going to reduce the opacity. And you can begin to see how powerful that is. You know? You still see your image, and it allows you to do some pretty cool things. And everything you can manipulate. So if somebody gives you feedback, John or Perry or Anna or whoever, one of your fellow classmates says, hey, maybe you should try this. You say, yeah, that's a good idea. You're not angry at yourself in the world because it's easy to fix. You're not going to be up all night fixing these things, so it's a really powerful tool. And there's other cool things. You can also explore some different rendering styles. Rather than using a white background, you can maybe do something that's, and I've been playing around with these dark color. I like dark backgrounds. Maybe a dark gray. Alright. So I made this thing. And maybe that text becomes white now. So, you know, it just gives you a lot of cool, just different rendering styles. And then you see everything's kind of shifted on this thing, like a lot of space in the bottom. I can fix that really easily. I'm just gonna click up here and hold my shift key and select all the layers but the two background layers. And I'm gonna click my move tool, V for move, and just shift down a little bit to kind of even things out so it'll all move together. And kind of center that page up. Yeah. There you go, looks kind of even to me. It's getting there at least. Yeah, it looks good. Alright. Turn those things off. And what I want to show you too, oops, it wasn't cleared, is that you can also desaturate. And what that means is you can make a color image black and white in Photoshop, like it's called desaturation. So I'm going to hold Alt and just make a copy. Always make copies of your work. You know, don't ever commit yourself. If you're going to modify a layer, try it out, see if you like it. You know, don't marry it before you date it. So I'm going to Control Shift U, and you'll see them on that layer. It'll make it eventually. There it goes. It comes a black and white image. Now you might prefer that style or you might not. I like the way that looks, but sometimes color is appropriate, and color, maybe in this case, it helps you distinguish a little bit better. But I'm just showing you different options, so that's something, a cool effect. And then when you put that back on, you know, everything begins to kind of blend together. And you can see how these things become compositions quickly. And this allows you a lot of freedom to create these maps. Another cool thing that you can do, now I'm on this kind of dark background. I have my overall line color right. You really can't see them that well. Well, what you can do, and again, I'm going to make a copy of it. Hold Alt on the layer, and drag it down. Turn one off. I'm going to hold Control and click in that layer picture, the box, and that's selecting everything that's in that layer. And I want to make these things white. I like the way that looks. It's kind of this new rendering style I'm playing with. I like it. So I'm going to show you guys. So then I'm going to go ahead and hold Shift and hit F5, and the foreground color is white now. And hit it a couple times. Do it again. Shift F5. One more time. Okay, that's good. And you can see where these things are coming in now. And I'm even going to go back in and this is cool too. Now I didn't separate my buildings in CAD. I didn't make them solid masses, and I should have. I don't know why I didn't. But I didn't do a fill. So a really cool thing I can do, the zoning had those buildings basically colored. So I'm going to click on the zoning, turn the overall off, and you see they're just solid black. Now there's different ways to do this. I'm going to show you the way I first learned, and then probably an easier way. Select color range. I'm going to click on that black, and you see it's highlighting everything there. I'm going to click OK. Right? And they all get circled. You see that fuzzy edge, meaning that they're selected. Now I'm just going to hit the Create a New File button. I'll double click. I'm going to call that Buildings. And then I'm going to make these things white, because I think that white looks really cool in that dark gray. And I'm on my buildings layer now. Be careful on your buildings layer. I'm going to hit Shift F5 again for fill and click OK. Bam. Control D to joint. And now I have my buildings, and I have to get rid of the HC and RA3 and all that, but it's not a big deal. And now I'll turn the zoning off, and you'll see on this map that I now have buildings. Looks kind of cool, right? It's starting to look like something at least. And you see these kind of extraneous lines. I have my viewport line, which is not looking so cool. But that's not a problem because I can just delete it. I'm going to click on that layer, and I'm going to use the outline tool. Delete. Control D. And maybe a better way was to, well, you used to have your contours, not as pretty, but Another way to make this thing more accurate and actually in CAD is to take the image that you have that I printed. In this case, I started from ArcMap first and just save one of those PDFs and then just open it up in AutoCAD Insert as an image and then just base my layout on that. That would have been probably a smarter way than what I'm playing with this thing because I'm cutting stuff off. But you all get the general idea, hopefully, of what I'm trying to do. So my buildings layers left me this kind of outline. So let me click on the outside of that and go back to overall lines and just hit delete. So it's all the same, all neat and organized. Okay, so that begins to crop things out. But you see whether that doesn't look as pretty as it could because it's not going all along to the bottom of the line. It's still a little off. Or I could have just made the other images fit it instead of that fitting. I didn't think. And that's why you do things in layers. I mean, I can always go back and fix all that. I'm not going to do that right now. But you all can. Sorry. Something to be definitely cognizant of. And that's basically how you begin to create these maps. You can create some really cool looking graphics in these things. And for those of you who don't know, you can use programs like Illustrator to create your arrows, and then do the same thing, export them over, and then render them in Photoshop so that they look better. Another cool thing, once I have this building layer up, I can then kind of actually let me kill that too. I don't want that outline because it's gonna mess me up. I'll show you how to drop a shadow. It's a lot of cool little quick things that give your, it gives your drawing a lot of depth and dimension. Doesn't look that bad. Actually, I can just probably get away with just drawing another outline. I don't feel so bad now. Alright, I'll just shift everything down. Okay. Let me delete that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so actually that's not working out too bad. Let me just shift all that down. And those bottom pieces of the tile blocks, the title piece, the bottom piece of the title block, the north arrow and the scale, I can just pull those back up too, and I want them, or I can recreate them. I don't know where I want it, doesn't really matter. But I want to get this thing a little bit more centered. Okay, let's begin to look like something. Okay. Now back to buildings. Just click on that layer for buildings. Double click on the right hand side. I'm going to drop a shadow to give it a little bit more depth. On shadow and do the distance a little bit, size, just to help lift it off the page a little bit. And it's kind of subtle, but those not so much. But it begins to get, there's different things that you can do quickly to begin to make your drawing look hot, Same thing with trees and stuff. I mean, you can use the same options. Say I'm going to do some quick representation of, I don't know, of trees. And that's what I like about creating these diagrams and this method of production for what we do, because right now you can begin to, all these things are in layers. You turn on, I don't know, this wooded lot, and you begin to see what's going on. Like, man, look how much wooded and how much isn't, and these comparisons. And maybe you say, I want to come in and create another layer. So I want to continue that tree line. I want to spill that into the other side of the road. How would I do that? What would look good? And this is an example. Whether you agree with the design intent or not, I'm just drawing to show you guys. Don't trip. Veg, or proposed veg. I'm going to pick a circle for a tree. Hold shift to make it proportionate. I'm going to pick a different green color so I can just differentiate between them. Make mine a little bit more darker this time. Fill that bad boy in. Alright. And now I can just take that guy, and actually I can do some cool things too. I'll show you another effect. Double click on it. I'm going to add a stroke to it. Black, and that's fine. Looks good. Quick tree, right? And then I'm just going to use that select tool, select it. I'm going to hit the move tool. I'm still on that veg layer. and then I'm going to hold Alt and begin to pull different trees from it. And that when by holding Alt and selecting like I did, I'm able to keep it on the same layer. That's why I've done it like that. And maybe you want to do a pattern though, you know, something kind of going across. Like how would that look? You know, this kind of vegetation began to span, and it wasn't just kind of this, you know, big break between vegetated areas and these built infrastructures. As more of this cohesion. I don't know. But it allows you to quickly paint diagrams. I mean, you're diagramming now. You're not pulling out markers. You're not, you know, this is a 24 by 36 sheet of paper. You know, and it's not that big on my screen. So you can begin to see the power of these things. Now, there's a fluidity right now. I'm using my mouse, but there's other tools that you can use, like tablets that give you that are more familiar or more fluid, I don't know, design motion or range of motion than using this mouse. You know, but you can begin to come up with these concepts quickly and save them as layers, and they're done, and they're already digitized. And you can print them off or not print them off, which is great as well, especially if you're on a budget. You know, so that's the power of beginning to use these things, and I can even give them another cool effect. That same effect I gave those the land areas, or the land use. You can do like a inner glow. Select that green. Go darker. Blend mode. I'm going to darken. And I'm going to begin to play that size. There you go. Oh, I never really use show. There you go. It gives it this hue, you know. There you go. Cool. Quick diagrams. You want to give it more flavor? Drop a shadow on it too. You know, and play it and experiment with different things. Just cover all the ways. Great. There's patterns you can drop on these things. There's all types of stuff that you can do. Change the distance so it actually looks like a tree. You know, quick things, and these don't look, you know, you can make them a lot prettier than this, but it's still a decent picture. You know, you can change the opacity. Kind of has this cohesion to it, you know, it's not as loud maybe. But then it quickly, in my mind, for me, it quickly allows me to begin to convey some of the ideas that I have and put them down on paper. So that kind of wraps up this portion of the tutorial. I'm sure you have questions, and I encourage you to bring them on and ask me, ask Anna, ask Perry, ask John. They might not know, but ask them anyway. And also do Google searches. You'll be surprised the amount of information you can find on YouTube. There's a lot of people that are doing these video tutorials and that are a lot more skilled than myself. So you know, you can get as good as you want to get at these things, but I think it's an invaluable tool. So that kind of wraps up this, and wish you guys good luck.